We're ready to roll. All right. Well, thank you so much. So good evening, and thank you everyone for joining this evening. I am Councillor Todd Attridge, and I will be chairing this public meeting tonight. Deputy Mayor Vicky Mink will not be present and sends her regrets. I am, however, joined by staff and members of council. So we've got Councillor Adam, Councillor Claire, Mayor Elena, Councillor Daryl, and Councillor Les with us as well. I will remind council members to keep their cameras on throughout the entire meeting today. Mute if you're not speaking, and then unmute when you do. Staff and applicants, if I can ask that you keep your cameras off until it's time to speak, and keep yourselves muted until it's time to speak. I would appreciate that as well. And don't worry, if it's your turn to speak, we'll ask you to turn your camera back on and make sure that you unmute as well. Okay. Moving on to item 1.1, we're going to start with a moment of silent reflection. Great, thank you. Moving to item 1.2, land acknowledgement statement. I'm going to read our Indigenous land acknowledgement. The municipality of Port Hope exists on the lands of the Mississauga Anishinaabe traditional territory covered by the Williams trees. We honor and recognize First Peoples as rights holders and stewards of the lands and waters on which we have the privilege to live, work, and play, including the Ganaraska Forest and River. We pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. We commit to actions towards truth and reconciliation by recognizing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, strengthening ties with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, especially those who make their home in Port Hope, and learning from Indigenous ways of knowing and being. We do so by recognizing the past and working towards a shared future. Moving on to item number 2, declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest from members of council? I would note that there are none received ahead of time. Nope, seeing none. Thank you. We're moving on to item number 3, explanation of the public meeting format. So first off, I do want to welcome everyone for joining us. We've got tonight people who are going to be joining us online. We also have people who are going to be joining us through telephone for this virtual meeting. And so we are here tonight for a public meeting that is held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. This meeting is a mandatory requirement under the Act and represents only one step of the planning and development process. So please note that no decisions will be made at today's meeting. Before I get into the format of today's meeting, I do want to acknowledge the fact that we have a number of people who are joining us tonight, residents who have not gone through one of these meetings before. So I am going to take a little bit of liberty to go a little deeper into explaining how these meetings go, and also because we're doing it in a virtual setting versus a live setting, I want to make sure that we're taking the time to make sure that everyone understands how the procedures go and how they can access all the documents that are available to them. So for those folks who are joining us, whether it's live through Zoom or whether you're here on telephone, thank you. I also want to acknowledge that this is being recorded. So there could be people who are going to be watching the recording at a future date. So I'll try and explain everything so everyone has a chance to understand what we're doing. So the way in which this meeting goes is, I think it's really important that the folks who are, like the residents who are listening and are watching for today and whether you're seeing in the future, understand that this is not a one and done. This is an information session to be able to bring information forward. There'll be lots of opportunities to be able to have your voice heard, whether it's today or at a future date, and I'll explain all of that as we go along. The process goes like this. First, the applicant or their representatives will provide an overview of the application and a policy framework review. So what they'll do is they're going to explain what they're applying for and how it intersects with the different municipal and county and provincial policies. And then I'm going to ask municipal staff to provide an overview of their technical review and the public consultation. So they'll go through the application from the technical side of how planning operates and what those policies look like. And you'll note when we get to the municipal staff report, this is simply a report. They're not making recommendations. They're simply stating facts as to how this application goes. And then council members, of course, may ask questions of the applicant or the staff, and I'll be inviting you that. I'm going to remind council members that we're not here to weigh in either in favor or against the application. This is an information session for us. So ask questions, of course. But I think it's important for the public to know we're not here to make a decision today. We're here to receive information. And finally, then members of the public who wish to provide input will be able to do so. So you'll have an opportunity. I'm going to give you instructions on how to raise your hand virtually, or if you happen to be on the telephone, how you can raise your hand through a telephone. But also it's available on the agenda. If you don't happen to have a copy of the agenda, you can go to our website, which is porthope.ca. And when you're there, you will see at the top, there's a menu. On the far right says your municipal government. If you hover over that, another menu will pop up that says agendas and minutes. If you click on that, it will open up a calendar. And if you scroll down to August 12th, 2025, which is when this meeting is being held, 5 o'clock, you will see a blue bar that says public meeting. And if you click on that, you'll have the opportunity to see the agenda either through an HTML, which will pull it up in the web as a separate tab, or PDF, which will pull it up also as a separate tab. The difference is on the HTML, you'll have links to all the stuff. On the PDF, you'll be able to download it and print it. So if you happen to be here live and you're trying to find the agenda, that's how you find it. If you happen to be watching this at a future date, that's how you'll find it, and that'll be available in the future as well. So as we go along, I'll repeat all the instructions on raising hands down the road, but if you want to look at in the agenda, you're welcome to do that. Alternatively, you can also provide input via written submissions, and there's a couple of ways. So I think it's important if you are a member of the public and you're joining us, these meetings, this is probably your first time doing it. This is not a one and done. It's not a, speak now or forever hold your peace moment. This is an opportunity for you to be able to raise your hand and make a comment today if you choose to do that. If you don't want to do that today, you can write to planning@porthope.ca and you can submit your comments that way. So it's planning, PLANNING @porthope.ca. The other way, if you've got some comments that you want to reach council, so the planning will go to the planning department. If you want to reach council, the best way to do that is clerk@porthope.ca. And the reason why we ask you to do clerk@porthope.ca is because it will go to Shrishma, who is our municipal clerk. She will make sure all of us get a copy of it. It also happens to go into the public record, so your voice is being heard there. Sometimes members of the public feel they should be emailing us individually. It's actually not the most effective way of doing it. Clerk@porthope.ca will do that best. So lots of ways in which you can have your comments heard today. You can either do it live today. If you don't feel like you want to speak publicly, you can write in. If you're like me and you need a little time to think before you send your comments, you're certainly welcome to write them to planning or to clerk@porthope.ca later on. So another reminder, no decisions are being made tonight. So some people feel as though this is the meeting. This is actually an information meeting. So we got lots of information. We're going to hear from the applicants, of course, we're going to hear from staff, we're going to hear from public. At a future date, we're going to have a recommendation report that will come forward. That date will be posted at a future time. And there'll be opportunities to provide even more feedback through question period if you'd like to ask questions at that time, or through comment period if you'd like to give some comments. And of course, anytime in between then you can email. So lots of opportunity for the public to be able to weigh in on this. I don't want you to feel as though, if you don't say something today, the window's closed. This is one component of the process. So there's lots of steps that go through this. And so today we're going to be receiving information. As the chair, I may call upon the applicant or staff to provide clarification on matters, whether that's through members of the public or through council, but just to let both the applicant and staff know that could happen. Okay, so hopefully that lays enough context for everyone. Item number 4 on the agenda is the public meeting. So we're now going to start with the public meeting for this evening. So this is regarding an application for zoning bylaw amendment ZB03-2025 and draft plan of subdivision SU01-2025 under section 34 and 51 of the Planning Act, submitted by numbered company 137507001 Canada Inc. on behalf of Candevcon Group Incorporated for lands municipally known as 4646 County Road 2. So I'd like to note that council members are not here tonight to express their opinions for or against the proposed changes. The time for that will come at a later matter when it's brought forward for consideration at a future meeting of the Committee of the Whole, as I mentioned earlier today. So with that, we'll go to item 4.1, which is the presentation by the applicant. So I'm going to ask if we can get the applicant to turn the camera back on. Go ahead and unmute your microphone. And I think Shrishma has agreed that she's going to be moving slides forward as we go. Do we lose? Oh, there we go. Perfect.
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Maria Jones. I am a planner at Candevcon Group. We represent the owners of the property located at 4646 County Road 2. We have filed applications to amend the zoning bylaw of the municipality of Port Hope and a draft plan of subdivision. Next slide, please. The subject property is located within the hamlet of Welcome, southeast of the intersection of County Road 10 and County Road 2, municipally identified as 4646 County Road 2. The subject lands are approximately 3.2 hectares with approximately 22 meters of frontage along County Road 2. Presently, there is a 2-story single detached dwelling currently exists on the property. The eastern and southern sections of the property are currently being used for agricultural purposes. Next slide, please. The surrounding land uses include, to the north, single detached dwellings and County Road 2. To the east are single detached dwellings along County Road 2 and agricultural uses. To the south are single detached dwellings and agricultural uses. And to the west, there are single detached dwellings, New Hope Church, agricultural uses, and commercial uses existing on the northerly side of County Road 2. Next slide, please. The proposed development for a zoning bylaw amendment aims to establish draft plan of subdivision consisting of 13 lots, which includes 12 single detached dwellings, an existing dwelling, a stormwater management block, and a local road. The local road has access points from County Road 2 and culminates in a cul-de-sac at the end of the subdivision. The stormwater management block is situated at the northerly portion of the subdivision to the east of the existing dwelling and will feature an underground tank with open space at grade level. The development is intended to be serviced by municipal water and private wastewater systems. The lots each measure 0.22 hectares with frontages varying from 18 to 8.8 meters to 61.4 meters, and lot depth range from 35 meters to 81.5 meters. Next slide, please. The official plan designates the property as hamlet. The designation permits residential, commercial, institutional, and recreational uses. Single detached dwellings are permitted in accordance with the zoning bylaw. The proposed development adheres to policies in place and does not require an official plan amendment. Next slide, please. The current zoning for the property is future development. An amendment to the zoning bylaw is required to change the zone from future development to a site-specific hamlet residential zone, RESV 1158. The site-specific zone will permit the intended low-density residential development and facilitate the proposed residential plan of subdivision. Next slide, please. The proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw introduces site-specific provisions that allow for a reduced minimum lot area, a minimum lot frontage, minimum exterior yard for lot 1, a minimum front yard for lot 13, and increase the maximum height permissions. Additionally, the site-specific bylaw identifies the longest southern lot line as the front yard line for lot 13 to ensure proper application of setbacks. Next slide, please. A 150 millimeter diameter water main currently exists along County Road 2. After conducting a hydraulic analysis, it had been concluded that there is sufficient capacity to connect the proposed units to the water supply. A 50 millimeter diameter water main is planned on the cul-de-sac. Storm drainage will be maintained within the proposed stormwater management block, which is expected to include an underground tank rather than a pond. Next slide, please. Key considerations in the proposal was inclusion of 13 single detached dwellings, optimizing the use of land, leveraging the existing water infrastructure, and contributing to the supply of residential units within the municipality, preserving the existing house and reconfiguring that lot, the limited commercial, institutional, and recreational uses located within walking distance, and the county's reconstruction of the intersection to improve connectivity and pedestrian safety. Next slide, please. This concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Maria Jones, at CanDevCon, or the municipal planner, Ken Scullion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria. Appreciate that. I'm going to open it up for questions to council. If you can just, there's a raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you've got a question, please just click the raise hand. It sort of looks like that. I think you click it again to lower it, and I'll do my best to make sure I'm keeping track of who put their hand up in what order, starting with Mayor Elena.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I want to just take you back to your second last slide, key considerations. I'd like you to clarify that the improvement of the Welcome intersection by county is simply a key consideration, that it is no way linked to your project proposal per se. If you can just please clarify that for us and for the public.
Yeah, it is a key consideration. It was considered when we were planning the subdivision, but it's not included as part of our subdivision work. We will just be focusing on the work within that subdivision area for our property.
So if you don't mind, through the chair, just to be very clear then that the county is not making these improvements to the intersection for the purposes of your project.
No, they had this planned many years in advance.
Thank you for that clarification. Of course, I know the answer to that, but I think it's important that the public hears directly from you. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. I see Councillor Adam and then Councillor Les. Councillor Adam?
Thank you for that. So I just have a couple of quick questions. Question number one, why the change for the max height to 13 meters? And then question number two, for the stormwater tank, who is in charge of maintaining the stormwater tank? Thank you.
For the height, we're just asking for a maximum height since there is a possibility of having basement apartments. We would have to, or basement units that can be used as apartments, we would have to have a certain height for the windows, and so the grading would have to accommodate that. And with respect to the storm water tank, I would believe the city is responsible for maintaining that. Or the town.
Thank you.
Councillor Adam, any follow-ups on that, or are you good? Yeah, okay. Councillor Les?
Yes, can you describe the privacy provisions that you anticipate in terms of landscaping or fencing or both to enhance and protect the existing residents' privacy?
At the moment, we're just at the preliminary stages of planning the subdivision. We haven't, we would probably just go as to what is normally suggested for most subdivisions, where once people have bought their homes, they would probably put up their own privacy fences. As far as noise provisions, they would be no different than what any other housing subdivision would require.
So you haven't anticipated any landscaping provisions as part of your proposal yet?
Not yet at this point, no.
Thank you.
I have two questions that I'd like to jump in on. One of them is adjacent to what the mayor had asked about the changes to the roads that county has proposed. So appreciating the fact that, you know, they're not doing their changes because of the subdivision. The flip side of that is, do you require changes in order for the subdivision? Like, or is there going, like, would there be troubles if they didn't go ahead with the proposed changes?
No.
Okay. The second question I have is in regards to the stormwater management pond. Prior to approval of the application, will you be able to submit estimated costs to what the municipality will have to pay for the maintenance of that?
If those are through the comments, the consolidated comments that we received, yeah, we would provide that at detailed design stage when we're actually at a point where we'll be able to get those costs for you.
Yeah, totally appreciate you don't have them at this stage. Good, thank you, Maria. Council, any other questions for the applicant before we move forward? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and mute yourself again, and you can turn off your camera for now. And I'm going to turn this over now to staff, planning staff. If you want to turn your camera on and unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and make your presentation and introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm unable to turn on my video right now because the host has stopped it. Zoom is telling me. Shrishma, I'm not sure if you're able to assist.
I might be able to do that.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
Yeah, hi, Ken.
Hi, everyone. And can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Good. So as mentioned, this is a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision applications, file numbers ZB03-25 and SU01-25 respectively. Subject property is addressed 4646 County Road 2. And my name is Ken Scully and I'm a senior planner with the municipality. Okay, so the subject property is located within the hamlet of Welcome, relatively central to the hamlet on the eastern side of County Road 2. I think Maria did a great job at outlining the adjacent land uses, so I will not repeat what Maria said. So public consultation on this application included resident mailouts and on-site public notice signed as per the Planning Act. We've also put notice on our municipal website. Notice of complete application was prepared on June 19th of this year. Public open house held by the proponent occurred on August 5th. Notice of public meeting was issued on July 23rd. A site sign for notice of the application was posted on July 22nd. Okay, so as mentioned by Maria, a rezoning application from the future development zone to a site-specific residential Hamlet 1 zone is required to prevent any new development on the subject property. So as you can see in the map on this slide, the lands are designated hamlets within our official plan, and lands designated hamlets are intended to be developed in accordance with the provincial planning statement. Specifically, the provincial planning statement identifies the Hamlet of Welcome as a rural settlement area. Provincial planning statement says that rural settlement areas shall be the focus of development and growth within rural areas throughout Ontario. I'll also note that the future development zone coincides with the extent of the hamlet designation boundary, as we'll see on the next slide here. You can see the subject property has striped hatching. Zone future development, as mentioned, site-specific permissions would be required to address a minimum lot area, a reduced minimum lot area, an increased height, and address lot frontage and setback deficiencies due to unique lot confrontation and shape for lots 1, 2, 11, and 13. All other development permissions, aside from those listed on this slide, would be identical to adjacent residential lots that are zoned Hamlet Residential 1, which is the zone category is Res V1 on zoning maps. And you can see those zones existing to the north of the subject property, as well as to the west of the subject property. So as part of zoning bylaw amendment applications and draft plan of subdivision applications, we circulate submitted material supporting the applications to various staff and agencies for commenting. We consider those comments moving forward. So Alderville First Nation has provided comments stating that a consultation process is required. Parks and Recreation and the Culture Department has no objections, and Cash and Low Parkland will be pursued. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board has no objections and provided draft plan conditions. CNL has no objection. Building Division has no objection. They provided that after the publishing of this agenda. Protective Services has acknowledged that insufficient flow of fire suppression exists for the subject property, and the nearest hydrant is 800 meters from the subject property. However, they have confirmed that the adjacent hydrant in a tanker shuttle will provide sufficient water in the event of fire. They've also outlined that on-street parking will be restricted throughout the entirety of the proposed street to allow for sufficient space for fire apparatuses. And before I dive into these very technical comments, I'll state that the comments here and that are going to follow, there's just a high-level overview. All comments provided and are by staff and agencies are attached to the staff report. All comments are in their entirety and are available for review. Chair Attridge provided great instruction on how to get to those comments, but if anybody needs help getting to the comments provided by staff and agencies, please reach out and I'll be happy to help. So Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority has required that the proponent address general discrepancies and provide additional details on the submitted stormwater management report, as well as detail on seasonal fluctuations within the hydrogeological report. They've also outlined recommendations to achieve Ontario drinking water standards from the review of the nitrate loading assessment. The Russian Engineering Department has required detailed construction, servicing, and grading drawings, as well as erosion and sediment control. And they've also required a phase 2 environmental site assessment. So we've had third-party peer reviewers review a few documents that have been submitted, including the hydrogeological and nitrate loading assessment, which was peer reviewed by Blumetric, which is a engineering consultation firm. They've required that stormwater management details to confirm nitrate loading and to confirm pre and post development water recharge. They require evaluation of down gradient wells for nitrate and well water interference. And they do recommend a well survey for adjacent wells when property owners provide consent. Redstone Engineering provided a peer review of the geotechnical peer review. They requested details on subdrain locations, seasonal groundwater, and recommends that the prepared geotechnical recommendations are confirmed when finalized grading servicing plans are made available. SEMA Plus provided a peer review of the arborist report. They require an updated tree protection plan showing existing and proposed grading. They've also required a landscape plan and request that all trees be shown on a topographic survey to confirm ownership of the trees that may be on adjacent properties. So the planning department has provided comments. We have requested that if additional residential units are pursued, which as per the draft zoning bylaw amendment submitted would permit additional residential units, we would like to see addendums to the water hydraulic modeling and traffic impact assessment to assess the feasibility and appropriateness of including those additional residential unit permissions. We've also asked for justification for the 13-meter height permission. Just curious as to why that is and how many stories they're considering pursuing. Northumberland County Planning, Public Works, Waste Management, and Inspection Services all provided comments on the application. They have no objections. They provided comments on water main installation, engineer design requirements, road widening requirements, waste management, and septic installation requirements. So the next steps. The applicant will address public and agency circulation comments. Staff will prepare a recommendation report based on policy consistency and conformity and considers all the comments received from the public. A recommendation report will be reviewed at the committee of the whole meeting to decide if the application should proceed to a council meeting for a final decision. In council meeting for a final decision, if approved, a notice of decision will be given starting an appeal period of 20 days. So third-party appeals. We just want to make it clear that resident appeal rights for zoning bylaw amendment applications and trap plan and subdivision applications have been removed by the province through Bill 23. This is part of the More Homes Built Faster Act of 2022 and only prescribes specified persons and specified bodies as defined under the Planning Act have appeal rights for zoning bylaw amendment applications and trap plan and subdivision applications within Ontario. And I would like to state at this point that we have received 2 additional letters of concern from the public that we weren't able to get onto tonight's agenda because they were just received too late to do so. The agenda was published and we received those comments. We were unable to get them on tonight's agenda. However, I will confirm that there were 2 new overarching themes of concern in those pieces of correspondence. One of them were tax implications, property tax increases, as well as light pollution implications from the proposed development. But we have received those pieces of correspondence and we will be considering them moving forward. And Mr. Chair, with all that said, that's about it for me for now. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ken. Before I move on to questions, I'm going to ask you maybe just, on behalf of the public, because oftentimes, especially when we get to the technical circulations and so on, there's a lot of comments in there, and a lot of them happen to intersect with things that the public have raised concerns about, like what's going to happen to the trees, what's going to happen to the water, and so on. Could you maybe give, in sort of a plain language approach, what do these comments mean, and what do they have to satisfy, and so on, so the public knows, what has to happen for to satisfy these comments?
Yeah, so some comments. So In this instance, zoning bylaw amendment, draft plan and subdivision applications. Some of the peer reviewers and staff and agencies are requesting that some of the comments are addressed prior to draft plan approval. So that means before decision is made on draft plan of subdivision application, some considerations are taken care of before that, notably interference on adjacent wells, well contamination, getting that stuff out of the way just to make sure that this subdivision is feasible before decisions are made. Other comments could be addressed as draft plan conditions. These are conditions of draft plan approval. When the conditions are satisfied, we can then move forward with a final approval of a draft plan application or subdivision application.
Right. Okay, great. So if I was a member of the public and I've got a concern, if I happen to see my concern on these lists, I know an agency is asked to have it looked at and someone's taking care of it as we go through the process. Is that right?
That's right, Mr. Chair. All public comments received are provided to the proponent, and we do ask that the proponent speaks to each concern and how they are being addressed, be it through actions made by the proponent or policy interpretation.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that clarification. I'm going to open it up for council. Council, any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Ken. Before you go, I'm just going to turn it back over. Maria, while you're still here, given the presentation that Ken's just shown us, is there any comments that you would like to share? Any further comments you want to share, or are you satisfied at this point?
I'm satisfied with this point. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we're on to item number 4.3 of the agenda, which is submissions from members of the public. So before we begin with submissions from the public, I would like to note that the staff report that Ken just gave us does outline the changes to the Planning Act, which means there used to be an opportunity that if the public didn't agree with the decision of council or the municipality, you could go to the Ontario Land Tribunal. As Ken pointed out in his presentation, the province has since changed that. And so the public does not have the ability to appeal the decision. The only people who are allowed to appeal the decision at a later date is what they refer to as a specific person or a public body as defined by the Planning Act. Also, a registered owner of the land to which the bylaw would apply has the ability to appeal the eventual decision as well. So this means that the residents' appeal rights have been removed by the province. Now, members of the public, you may provide comments or questions related to this application at any time between now and the time this application is approved. We don't have a date yet set for that, but just know that if you don't get a chance to speak tonight, your comments are still valid. Certainly, if you've got questions, you can email, if they're technical planning questions, you can email planning@porthope.ca. Maria and her presentation, if they happen to be questions in regards to the subdivision itself, at the end, on the last slide, has given her email address, so you can ask questions directly there. Tonight, though, if you have a comment, so something that you simply want to be able to state and have in the public record, then by all means, you're welcome to do that tonight. So since we're conducting this virtually, a slightly different approach than we would normally do if we were in chambers. So the instructions, as I said, were in the agenda, but just to help people through, if you happen to be seeing this through video, at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a raise hand. So you can click the raise hand and a yellow hand pops up, click it again, the hand goes down. Our clerk Shrishma is going to help. If you happen to be on the phone and you want to comment, you're going to press 9 to raise your hand. And then you press 9 again to lower your hand. So I'm going to do my best, and Shrishma, thank you so much in advance for supporting me on this. I'm going to do my best to make sure that we get through the questions in the sequence in which they pop up. But rest assured, if we make a mistake, it's not intentional, and everyone will be heard who wants to be heard tonight. So I think That is all. Oh, one last thing. When you are called upon, so I'll call your name when it's your turn. Go ahead and unmute yourself, or I think Shrishma, you unmute. Is that right? You're going to take care of that. Okay, so Shrishma will unmute you. I will need you to state your full name, so first name, last name, and your address for the record, so that we have that on record. And then go ahead and give your comment. And one thing I would say, having chaired a couple of these now, appreciating the fact that sometimes people want to give a significant amount of context behind their comment, and we appreciate that. There's a lot of emotion that comes when there are planning changes that come forward, whether that's excitement or anxiety or fear or whatever concern, whatever you happen to have. But recognizing that there may be a number of people who want to speak, we just want to ask that you try and keep things as concise as possible, so that we make room for everyone tonight. And I think that is good context. So I see we have Scott Hagerman, who's got their hand up. Scott, when Shrishma clears the airways, you're good to go.
Yeah. Chair Attridge, I just want to note one thing.
Yeah.
That for those of us who are joining via a telephone, it's *9. So they would have to press *9 in order for them to raise their hands. Just want to clarify that. Thank you, sir.
Love that. Thank you. So *9. My apologies for anyone who's hitting 9 and wondering why nothing's happening. *9 and *9 to lower your hand. Good.
That's
thank
correct.
you.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Hagerman, you are able to talk. So please unmute yourself and provide your full name and address. And make your comment, please.
Scott, we can't hear you. You are unmuted, but we can't hear you quite yet. Still not. Shrishma, what do we?
Yeah. So in a situation like this, Mr. Hagerman, likely it is an audio change on your end that you may need to take a look at. The alternative, of course, is to join via telephone. So Chair Attridge, my recommendation at this point would be if there are other members of the public who wish to raise their hand and make a comment, then we can go to them next, and then we can come back to Mr. Hagerman.
Wonderful.
Once he's ready.
And I'm going to give the phone number so that Scott, if you can hear me all right, if you need to dial in to ask the question, the phone number is 647-374-4685. So it's 647-374-4685. So what we'll do at this point is Shrishma's going to mute you again. I'll invite other members of the public if they would like to raise their hand and speak. But Scott, if you still can't get the audio to go, please dial in, and we'll be able to do it that way. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Anyone else? I've got an unidentified person that looks like Samsung S918W. So Shrishma's going to turn your mic on. Please give your name and your address.
You are unmuted. And if you could just state your name and your address, and you can make your statement, please.
My name is Singh. I live at 4733 Dale Road. My concern here, I'm a new resident. I moved from Toronto, so I can live in a peaceful, quiet neighborhood. My property does not have city water. I have septic. And I'm wondering, on that development, what would become of my well system. I've tested my water almost every 3 months, and it's passed every time for quality, for drinking. So under this development, I'm wondering what would become of my water. I'm a pensioner, and it's a big concern for me.
Yeah, thank you
I'm
so
trying to
much.
keep in a budget, right?
Of course. Yeah, thank you so much. So you're on well water. This particular development would be on town water, so it's separate, but I'm clearly not the expert on water. So I'm going to ask Ken, did you want to share any comments on how the intersection between, residents who have well waters versus this application, how some of that would work?
Yeah, so I am not an engineer, I'm a land use planner, but
Yeah.
the hydrogeological peer reviewer has requested additional information to show that there will be no adverse implications on adjacent wells. That, as I stated, that peer review document is publicly available. And there are several steps that the proponent will need to take to demonstrate that adjacent wells will not be negatively affected.
Right. So it sounds like there's some safeguards in there for you, saying as this goes forward. So some of that will come forward at a future date as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate that. We'll go on to does anyone else have a comment? Yeah, it looks like Rutenbeek, Mr. Rutenbeek. Shrishma, if you can maybe unmute and.
Yes, Mr. Rutenbeek, you are unmuted, and you can go ahead and state your name and your full address and make your statement, please.
Thanks. Can you confirm you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. My name is Jeff Rutenbeek. I live at 3045 County Road 10. I think the topic of drinking water is pretty contentious in the Welcome area for several reasons. I'm wondering, just as a question here, and you'll have to excuse me because I missed the first 2 minutes of the presentation. Sure. But is the capacity from the municipal water supply that's going to serve this development, is that using previously assigned capacity to the previous agricultural use, or is it marginal capacity, or is it new capacity coming in? Because I was of the understanding that there was no excess capacity north of Highway 401.
Yeah, no, understand the question and the concern. Certainly whenever there's development that's happening in the rural area, this is probably one of the largest concerns or questions that come forward. Rest assured, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't catch the entire presentation, but there's a number of agencies that have to weigh in specifically around water, and so they will do the check to make sure that there's capacity, not the least of which is their own works in engineering. So what will happen is studies will be done as to whether or not there's enough capacity there. That will be part of the information that comes forward and has to get weighed in. Obviously, no one's going to allow something to go forward if there's no capacity for water. So that will certainly get addressed as we go forward. Okay, Mr. Rutenbeek?
Oh, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Did we hear back from Mr. Hagerman? Did Scott get a chance to?
So, Mr. Hagerman, you still have the ability to speak. So, if you want to try, yep. If you want to
try it again.
Yeah, try again. We do see your hand is raised, but we unfortunately cannot hear you. Yeah.
And you are unmuted. Okay, there might be a technical issue there. So again, if you choose, please call in, and we can talk to you that way. Alternatively, if that doesn't work for you, Mr. Hagerman, please write in to either clerk@porthope.ca or planning@porthope.ca. That way, whatever you are going to share with us tonight will still be recorded. If it is a question, specifically if it's a planning question, you can reach out to Ken in planning and ask that question offline, or if it happens to be a specific question around the subdivision itself, you can reach out to Maria through her email and ask that question as well. So lots of ways in which you can still be heard, but if you want to actually speak and your technology is not working, please use the phone number. I'll give that again, 647-374-4685. Anyone else, any other members of the public? I don't see any other hands up at this stage. Yep, we got another one. Christopher. Oh, there we go. Good. Christopher Bolden, you're next in line. So Shrishma, if we can unmute Mr.
Yes,
Bolden.
Mr. Bolton, you have the authority to talk, so I just need you to unmute and
There we
then,
go.
yeah, again, state your name and address, please.
Yeah, it's Christopher Bolton. I live at 4841 Dale Road. So almost at the end of the road there. Anyway, thank you very much for this presentation. Very informative. So thank you again for the presentation. Very well done. At least I understand what's going on from a planning perspective as a resident here. Welcome. My concern is just a couple things. So number one, these lots that are proposed at the site, are they going to be sold individually on realtor.ca, or is a builder coming in to all of a sudden build all these homes in a shorter period of time? Because if the lots are sold individually, they could take quite some time. And as a resident here that enjoys the peaceful, quiet landscape, we could have construction going on for multiple years as lots are sold individually.
Yeah, great question. My understanding of this is because it's a planned subdivision, and at some point they're going to have to bring forward site planning to explain what is going to be on. They would be the developers and develop all, because it has to be developed per the site plans. If they, sold the lots individually or something, then the planned subdivision comes undone, and then that's what we're actually approving. We're not approving lot sales; we're approving a planned subdivision. So the whole thing will have to be done all at once.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for the question. I'm going to move on to Laura Vandermeer.
Hi, this is actually Josh Vandermeer. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can. Thank you.
Yeah, and so I'm joined by my wife, Laura Vandermeer. We are residents at 4753 Dale Road. We are also one of the homes that sent in a letter of concern as well. But one specific concern that was not spoken to in the presentation was regarding the provisions towards the minimum lot area, reducing it from the Res V1 standards of 2,800 square meters to 2,200 square meters. The question we have is, what's the justification for the reduction?
Yeah, great question. Maria, if you'd like to speak to that.
The reduction was just to maximize the amount of lots that we could put into the subdivision. It's not a huge reduction. It's just so that we can, because the property is configured kind of irregularly, we wanted to be able to maximize as many lots as we could and still have the same size lots as possible.
Okay. Thank you for the answer.
Maria, maybe just a follow-up question on that. If the lot sizes don't get reduced, or maybe I said the other way, as they're being reduced, how many additional lots did that get?
I think 1 or 2.
Okay, great. Back to you, Mr. Vandermeer. Did you have another question, or is that?
Yeah, just a follow-up question for the council then on this topic. I guess twofold. What would be the reasoning for the current Res V1 standard of 2,800, and why would council be wanting to approve a reduction in for this type of example?
Oh, why would we want an extra lot, or why would we approve an extra lot in there? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Why? For what reason would you have to go against what's already in the standards?
Yeah, that's not a question we can answer today, and the reason for that is later on we're going to go to a meeting, which is the committee of the whole, where we're actually going to talk about these kinds of exceptions that are being asked. And the reason why we don't talk about them today is because there's no decisions being made today. But at that next meeting, or when that goes to the committee of the whole, that's actually when each council member would be able to debate back and forth why they think it should or should not happen. And that's when, a decision as a council comes forward. So, stay tuned on that, because it will be discussed at some point. It's just that's not a discussion for today.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. Thank you. And is that a public meeting?
Yep, absolutely. Everything that we do on this is public. And so the date has not been set on that yet, but when it is, then, either if we happen to be back in person, then join, or you can join live stream, of course. But yeah, that's when you'll see council actually talk through the details like that about why would we not. And so you'll see the open debate. We don't talk about stuff, unless we're in the public.
Understood. Thank you. That's it for now.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much for your questions. Really appreciate it. Any other members of the public who've joined us? Yeah, I see another one. I've got Shannon Watson. If you want to unmute yourself. Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Good evening. It's not actually Shannon Watson. I'm her husband. Okay. It's Neil. We live at 4713 Dale Road, and we have a question in regards to the, I guess the planning application in general, page 8 of 100. It says a maximum of 2 additional residential dwellings shall be permitted, subject to zoning bylaw. Can you clarify what that actually refers to? Is that indicating that 2 additional units per lot?
I am going to call upon Ken. He's our resident expert on that. Ken, can you give an interpretation of that?
Yeah, so the proposed zone, as per the draft zoning bylaw amendment, would permit up to 2 additional residential units per lot. And that's the same for all adjacent lots that are zoned Hamlet Residential 1 right now. However, we've considered that, and what we have requested is we would like to see addendums to the water hydraulic modeling as well as a traffic impact assessment to demonstrate that those permissions are appropriate and feasible to include, or to permit, I should say. So that is still something we are working on, and nothing is set in stone in that regard.
Yeah.
So would the amendment then? No, my question now is, would the amendment or the draft plan then be amended to show 36 potential homes on this property? Or will it stick to 12 and 10 years down the road, 24 will show up?
I think I can answer that, Ken, unless you want to take that one. I think you're rubbing off on me. But so what would have to happen is, if they're going to submit a site plan that has the ARUs built in them today, then what will happen is, studies on traffic, water, all that stuff would take those additional units into consideration now. If they don't build them like that, later on, if a resident applies for an ARU, to build an ARU, at that point, we would have to look to see whether or not the area can sustain more ARUs. So there's always going to be a check and balance in it, right? Like, you're always going to be checked to make sure we have capacity for the additional units, whether we do it now or if they don't add it to the plan. And, as you said, Mr. Watson, what happens if they start popping up later? Well, down the road, whoever happens to apply for them, we'd have to make sure we have capacity for them. Ken, did I get that right, or is there something that you need to weigh in on?
No, I think you got that for the most part, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks. Did you have a follow-up question on that, Mr. Watson?
Yeah, actually, I do have another question. I just want to clarify the term single-family dwelling. It's again, that 13-meter height single-family dwelling, possible of basement rentals, which was clearly stated. Those are no longer single-family dwellings.
And over to you, Ken. The definition of a single-family dwelling and how this works with an ARU.
Yeah, so the land use permissions, the land use is permitted in the residential Hamlet 1 zone includes single detached dwellings as well as additional residential units. So in theory, any lot that is zoned Hamlet Residential 1 could have a single detached dwelling, and it could have an additional residential unit in the building, 2 separate land uses on 1 lot.
does that clarify that, Mr. Watson? I think if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is you're getting caught up on the, hey, you say it's a single family, it's not going to be a single family, it'll be a double family, and that's just so the language around that. But the way in which our single family dwelling bylaws have been built, because we added ARUs to them at some point, you know, in effect, certainly could have a second family there, or quite frankly, you could have extended family living there. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your children that are living in that unit. Okay. Anything to follow up, or are you good if I move on to the?
No, move on. I can't hog the meeting.
Okay, no worries. Well, thanks so much. And listen, if you've got more questions around that specific topic and you want to understand more, please reach out to Ken, and he'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Okay, thanks so much. And Mr. Hagerman, looks like we've got you back here. Okay, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and then we'll test that mic again. I just need you to unmute. Yeah, there you go. And do you want to test that mic? I'm sorry, we are not hearing you at this point.
Mr. Hagerman, if you want to go on to the agenda that notes the phone number, Chair Attridge has already stated that one time, and there is a webinar ID that is attached to this meeting. So you would have to call the number 647-374-4685, and then you would have to enter in the webinar ID that is on the agenda that is published publicly. So that webinar ID is 829-8420-5133. And once you enter that in, you'll be able to join. Through your phone, and then you will have to just. We'll be happy to listen to your comment there. But I think you're having some technical difficulties with your audio, which is why unfortunately we can't hear you. Chair Attridge, I do see that Ms. Vandermeer has raised her hand again, so I can allow her in the meantime.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. And I think we have Mr. Vandermeer on that line. Is that right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This time it is
we switched.
Myself. We're both here.
Well, welcome.
We're both watching. Thank you. So I'm Laura Vandermeer, and I'm also at 4753 Dale Road. I was just hoping to seek some clarification from Maria regarding the lot sales, because at the open house attended last Tuesday, I forget the name of the male developer there from CanDevCon, but he said that at this time there was no plan to build homes. It was plans to sell lots. And I just want clarification.
Yep, thank you. Maria, would you be able to clarify that for us? Maria, you're still muted. If you maybe unmute yourself for this.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Now you're unmuted.
All right. The owners at this moment haven't contacted a builder to build the houses yet. They're just right now trying to attain the zoning and subdivision approvals so that they can possibly sell the subdivision to a builder who will build the homes at one time.
So there, Maria, just maybe for clarification, are there a couple of scenarios here? Like one is they're going to find a builder who's going to come on and build based on site plans, and the other one is they are going to try and sell the lots with plans. So could you maybe walk us through that a bit more?
I believe they're going to get a builder who has like a set of plans, a set of homes, like topologies for homes that they generally sell, and they would fit those topology sites onto these sites, these lots, and following this, like it would follow the zoning that we have approved.
Okay.
So it will. not sure that the intent is to sell the lots individually. I think it's to have them sold all at once, or as much as you can at the one time, based on.
Thank you. I see that our Director of Development Services, Desta McAdams, got her hand up. So Desta, would you like to unmute and weigh in here?
Thank you. And through the chair, I did just want to provide some additional clarification to that question, particularly the first question that arose from Mr. Bolton, in that the actual plan of subdivision application wouldn't necessarily require the applicant to build all lots at one time. So I just wanted to make that clarification known while the members of the public are here at the meeting. It seems that the applicant has yet to confirm how they're wishing to proceed in terms of the future development. But I wanted to just distinguish that the actual plan of subdivision application itself wouldn't limit that option.
Okay, thank you. That's my mistake. I think I was the one who misled on that. So Desta, maybe again for the public's sake, what would then come forward that council would be weighing in on should they want to look at, you know, partial build or no build? What would that look like?
So through draft plan of subdivision, draft conditions. So typically, like, it would still be treated as an overall, if this development proposal were to be approved and move forward, the draft plan of subdivisions would still outline the development plan for the full subdivision. So there would be, you know, the overall grading plan, the establishing the lots and what can be built on them through the rezoning. And it would outline, you know, specific requirements in terms of when municipality would assume certain parts of the subdivision. So we would want to clarify with the applicant any details with respect to the overall development plan. And then from a municipal assumption standpoint, the municipality wouldn't begin assuming the subdivision until the subdivision is complete. So that's just another consideration from a municipal standpoint. But with respect to what comes back to the public, there wouldn't necessarily be anything that comes back to the public if the draft plan of subdivision were approved, because those conditions would then be what needs to be satisfied by any future development. So it would be subject to that subdivision agreement, and any future buildings would need to abide by that agreement. So I hope that helps answer the question, but any new development would be subject to a subdivision agreement on the property and would have to conform with the overall development plan. And then again, from a municipal assumption standpoint, we wouldn't be looking to assume anything until the subdivision is complete.
Okay, and would, as those their lots get developed, if people were to put in requests for changes based on it, is that a possibility, or no? It's locked in the way in which it's been designed.
It would be if an individual wanted to come forward with a rezoning application, they, as an individual property owner, they could do that. The fact that there's this plan of subdivision registered over the property would certainly be a consideration from a municipal standpoint as to, you know, what could or couldn't be done to their property depending on the situation. And also existing, you know, servicing and other considerations that were approved over that original subdivision would all need to be considered.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that clarification. I appreciate that. Shrishma, I see that, you know, we got Scott Hagerman there. Is that from the previous time? Is that an?
Chair Attridge, Mr. Hagerman is actually on the phone. So what
wonderful.
I'm going to do is I'm going to allow him to talk from the phone. So I've just have had him enter in here. So Mr. Hagerman, you will have to unmute on the phone, and and if you can try talking.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Chair. Persevering.
We hear you. We hear you. We hear you. Welcome.
Thank you, Shrishma. I needed that ID number. Okay, so there was lots of talk in the beginning of the meeting about stormwater management. And of course, my concern is water. We are currently in a drought. The last 2 or 3 years, groundwater level here is depleted from about July until November. We are monitoring our water usage currently, so we have enough water in our well. So my concern is with the subdivision in behind, with paving the ground and putting rooftops and eave troughs, what's that going to do to the precipitation, infiltration, aquifers, recharge, and groundwater? Groundwater is our only source of water in a rural community. Now, having said that, I hope there will be studies done, but when you mentioned earlier, the fire department said they could shuttle water. The fire department has been accredited and awarded on shuttling water. But my concern is those big trucks getting in and out of that subdivision from County Road 2 down that laneway and around the corner would be my other question. So my concern is if that ground out there that absorbs our water, and believe me, I would love a storm right now, where is our groundwater going to come from for these possibly 17 houses that are affected? I've also been told the water line is not capable to feed water to the houses out back. So assuming that the 17 plus houses currently here were hooked up to that small line, in addition to 12 plus 1 houses, in addition to 2 possible suites in the backyard, in addition to families in the basement, how is that water line going to feed all of us?
Great questions.
That's basically my concern.
Yeah.
Groundwater is gold for people out here in the rural community.
Yeah, understood. Ken, did you want to give an explanation? I think we had a hydrogeological study mentioned in the report. Did you want to maybe share a bit more information on that?
Yeah, so groundwater considerations are being considered, and I know there are comments from GRCA as well as our hydrogeological consultant that has requested more information on impacts in groundwater. So that's still in the works right now, my understanding from reading the comments, which are publicly available, I should note. In regards to the fire apparatus, the traffic impact brief has reviewed fire trucks accessing the property, and the fire department has provided comment and confirmed that it is feasible for the fire truck to access the proposed lots.
Great, thank you. Yeah, one of the considerations in the report was that there wouldn't be any parking on that street, so that the apparatus could get down that street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that was noted by the emergency services.
And I think I got everything there, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if I missed anything there.
Yeah, I think the question was around the water coming in. So I think the diameter of the pipes are mentioned in the reports. The fire has been mentioned in the reports, and we're still waiting on the studies around the hydrogeological to understand the impact around wells, and certainly that report is going to weigh into the decisions as we go forward.
Okay, so just a sideline, if I could talk about parking for a minute. It's a cul-de-sac, so the fire trucks have to come and go and get around that. So if there is no parking, and there is 12 houses, and each house has 3 cars, that's 36 cars, and then people living in the basement have 1 or 2 cars, and then the people in the garden suites have 1 or 2 cars. Where are the cars going to go?
Right. So understood the point. So what will happen is traffic studies will be done in works and engineering, also look at these events, and so that reports will come back so that we understand the capacity of traffic on that street, and that gets weighed in as well.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Council and Mr. Chair for our opportunity tonight. I understand we do not have an opportunity to appeal, so we trust that you will seek wisdom on your decision with regards to this subdivision. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sticking with us and persevering. And, you know, my comment back to you and to everyone else who has who is on either tonight or you're watching in the future on the recording is if something else comes up or you think of something afterwards, tonight is not the one and only chance you get to share your comments. There's lots of other ways between now and the time the decision is being made. So please feel free to reach back out as things go along. We got Dan. And Dan, if you want to unmute yourself, you are ready to go. I just need your name and address before you get going, after you unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thanks, Dan.
Hi, thanks for taking the call. It's Dan Janes at 3191 County Road 10.
Great, thank you.
I missed a lot of the meeting. I apologize. I was driving.
No problems.
I have a question. Say the proposal, you've kind of covered one of my questions being, is there any control by council or by staff or the planning development maybe to control how the properties are sold? Maybe not how they're sold, but how many are sold before construction can start? Can we get to a 60% sold or an 80%? Is there any kind of governing body that can control the developer or the timeline of structures being built? That's question one. The second is, when the structures are approved, does council or the development team with your staff have any control of what kind of structures are put on these properties? Kind of like the Historical Society has in Port Hope. You know, you have to go through different realms to paint your front doors or change exterior sidings. Being a rural community, it kind of concerns me that we might be seeing structures that don't really fit in place. Is there anything that the council or staff have any control on about that?
Ken, did you want to address the, I don't know if it's necessarily around control, but what's the process by which that development happens as it goes forward?
Yeah, so in short, staff do have control over how the property is developed through making recommendations on the zoning bylaw amendment is approved. For example, right now, as per the draft zoning bylaw submitted by the proponents, it would allow for single detached dwellings, additional residential units at certain setbacks and heights. So we have the ability, prior to the zoning bylaw being approved, to control or to implement provisions which would control setbacks, height, land uses permitted, etc. So yes, we do.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Desta, I see your hand up. Did you want to join us? Hi.
Thank you. And through the chair, I just wanted to provide just an additional response to that question. In terms of architectural controls, in terms of actual design, we wouldn't have any control over, preference in terms of aesthetics. So just to clarify that, unless there was additional guidelines adopted, design guidelines adopted as part of the overall plan of subdivision, which right now that's not part of the proposal. So typically, so if they're not presented as or proposed through the application, there wouldn't be a measure of applying those to the subdivision aside from what's already existing in terms of design guidelines in our official plan, which can be encouraged. But I just wanted to provide additional clarification there. And then to answer the first question about a minimum number of lots prior to permitting development, we wouldn't have that control in place. However, there would be certain expectations as far as the overall servicing of the subdivision goes that would have to happen, as part of the overall development. But we wouldn't be able to control how many, for example, how many lots start to build out at one time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to start bringing our meeting to a close. So for the members of the public who are on, and certainly for folks who may watch this at a later date, if you're watching the recording, things are going to pop up in your head naturally. Questions are going to pop up. You're going to have conversations. Things are going to show up. So I just want to emphasize the fact that this is not your only opportunity to ask questions or to share comments. I'll give you some of that information again. So if you have a question or comment around planning, so this is around how the municipality does planning, how we make decisions, you can send your comments or ask questions to planning@porthope.ca. Maria, I think you had put on yours, and I'll see if I can find that real quickly in your presentation. If you've got questions around for the applicant or specifics around the application, we've got Maria at CanDevCon, so CanDevCon.com. So you can reach Maria and ask questions on that. And of course, if you've got comments that you want to share directly with council, clerk@porthope.ca, and we will receive everything. So rest assured, any of the comments that come forward, no matter how you send them, whether it's through planning or through clerk, all of it comes forward, and so all that will be seen by council at a later date. So I want to thank everyone for joining. We got a really great attendance on this. I really appreciate it. I also want to thank all the panelists for being here. Maria, thank you so much for your presentation. Ken and Desta, thanks for your wealth of knowledge. Really appreciate that. I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 6:21 p.m., concluding this meeting. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Hopefully you stay cool.